Welcome back everyone to the Neighborhood Ambassador Program Orientation Training. We just wrapped up section number 1 and we're now going to be moving to section number 2. And in your manual that's going to start on page number 5. And so anything that you see with a red colored banner at the top means we're still behind section number 2, where we're going to start talking about that important tool in every ambassador's toolkit, which is called the Community Connection for Older Adults newsletter. And so what we're going to be talking about in section number 2 is a brief introduction to the newsletter. We're going to look at an actual newsletter sample so that you can become familiar with how it's designed. And then we're going to talk about what you need to do with the newsletter. So let's go first to the introduction. And so every newsletter is published quarterly. We have one newsletter every quarter, and every newsletter has 5 inclusions. And those inclusions include Hot Topic of the Month, Resource Update, Agency Spotlight, Caregiver's Corner, and then information about upcoming meetings and educational opportunities. And so every newsletter is going to have these 5 inclusions, okay? But under each one of these inclusions, based on that particular newsletter, there are going to be different articles of interest, okay? So let's do this. Let's go ahead and look at an actual newsletter and you'll kind of see what I mean here. Now this is the one that was posted on the website. This is not the most current newsletter, but it is designed like I just described, and so every newsletter will follow this same format. So go ahead and pull out that newsletter if you haven't yet. And at the top you'll see in that first banner, it's kind of a gold colored banner. It says the name of the newsletter and what the issue is. Now for our purposes, this is issue number 2 of 2013, okay? Then in the left-hand column, you're going to see the 5 inclusions, okay? So first you've got the theme, and the particular theme for this issue is called Active and Engaged Aging, okay? Then we have our 5 inclusions: Hot Topic of the Month, Agency Spotlight, Resource Update, Caregiver's Corner, and then Meetings and Educational Opportunities. Then the banner underneath that gold color banner are the 2 logos for our organizations, then a brief description about the program and what this newsletter is. And then we've got started with that Hot Topic of the Month, and that one's about senior activity centers. If you turn the page, it still stays on that first inclusion, and we have a testimonial from Jack. And then we have our second inclusion, which is that Agency Spotlight, and for this newsletter it was the YMCA. Page 3, that Resource Update. Towards the bottom of that same page, it has the 4th inclusion, which is that Caregiver's Corner. And then on the last page, that 4th inclusion continues a little bit for respite services. And then we get down to meetings and educational opportunities. And you can look at this newsletter in more detail once this section is over or at the end of this orientation, and get a little bit familiar with some of the articles that we include. Okay, so what are you going to do with that newsletter? Well, first you're going to distribute it to your network. And who's your network? Your network is your family and your friends and your neighbors. It's the libraries, it's the clinics, it's the senior centers and so forth. All those places that we just listed in section number 1. And when you get in touch with this network, you're going to introduce yourself. So you're going to say, hi, I'm Kate Cadenhead. I'm a neighborhood ambassador, and the purpose of the Neighborhood Ambassador Program is to help older adults and their caregivers find reliable and accurate information that's going to help them meet their basic day-to-day needs. So you're going to remind them that you're a resource in the community and they can call on you if they have questions. And so you're receiving this orientation and this newsletter really as a supplement to this particular orientation so that you can stay abreast of current issues and trends around aging services. And so we really want to encourage you to keep copies of the newsletter for future reference. And one of the ideas that I like to think about is, so you've got that one newsletter that I just mentioned to you, and you could put it in a 3-ring binder and create what I like to call a mini mobile library. Now, you may say, well, I'll go out in the community. I've got this 3-ring binder. It's got one copy of the newsletter in there. What we can do is I'll give you a little tip. If you go to this particular website, you can download all the previous publications, and then you'll have an extensive mini mobile library to take with you. And as you download these, you may find in the beginning that you want to organize them chronologically by date. But then over time, as you get more familiar with the types of questions that you get in your community, you may want to sort of organize them based on the topic or the various types of articles that are in that newsletter. So for example, if you get lots of questions about Alzheimer's or you get questions about dementia, you may want to organize all the newsletters based on those topics together. So that's just a suggestion I have for you, and you can do what best works for you. So that wraps up section number 2 of this orientation. In a moment, we're going to pick up with section number 3.